Before we get into the thick of today's commentary, I just want to make it clear that I'm not trying to hate on Battlefield 2042. I actually really enjoyed my time on the beta last week. I was lucky enough to only crash once, and I experienced just a handful of bugs and glitches. The same obviously can't be said for everyone, which is why the beta was such a polarizing topic online. With that said, I want to address concerns I have about the game's feature list, as something seems a little bit off, but more on that later. First, I want to give one last shout out to the channel sponsor Nvidia, as well as Scan Computers. They have sponsored my coverage of the Battlefield 2042 beta, including the last 2 videos. I'm humbled to have them feature on the channel, honestly, and owe it all to you lads watching. Seriously, thank you very much for allowing me to get to this super lucky position. Check out the timestamps in the description and on screen to get right to the video topic if you've already watched this sponsor message. But a huge thank you to Nvidia and Scan Computers for sponsoring today's video. I've squatted up with the lovely folks at Nvidia and Scan Computers to show off Nvidia Reflex during the Battlefield 2042 beta. You can enable Nvidia Reflex in the video options menu in-game as shown here. But what is it? Well, Nvidia Reflex is an option that reduces system latency in GPU-bound scenarios. This means there is less delay from your input device, such as your mouse, meaning much quicker reaction times and more precise aiming. Nvidia DLSS 2.0 is also coming to Battlefield 2042 at launch. This AI learning technology boosts your frame rates significantly while retaining close to the native image resolution. Keep an eye out for performance benchmarks as we draw closer to the game's full release. Scan are one of the UK and Ireland's biggest suppliers of Nvidia hardware, including the sought-after RTX 300 series GPUs, along with laptops and insane monitors. Check out Scan's range of 360Hz G-Sync IPS monitors, the world's fastest refresh rate monitor hand-tuned for competitive titles. Combined with Reflex, the latency is super minimal. Follow the links below, and thanks again to Nvidia for sponsoring a couple of my videos, and you lads too, of course, for getting me into this extremely lucky position. So thank you. But anyway, back to the video. So, the Battlefield 2042 beta has come and gone, and plenty of fans noticed 1 or 2 missing features, and by that, I mean over 20 extremely notable features from just the last title in the series have either been reworked into something new or completely removed altogether. This list I have for you today has been collected by myself, looking through comments on my previous videos, but also a massive shout out to Greeny my man on Reddit for compiling a lot of the most significant features. Their video is also linked below. On screen is a graphic I put together as an easy means of highlighting just how many features are either gone or changed. Like I said, there's plenty changed in 2042 and plenty missing, but the list is of fundamental features or gameplay mechanics whose absence makes very little sense to me. Crouch sprinting. Maybe it wasn't used all too much, but what's the harm in having it as an option? Similarly, going prone in Battlefield 5 meant you could lie on your back and still fire your weapon. This isn't in 2042 either. ADS leaning, while only a recent addition, it did help some players. Fortifications don't seem to be present either, though I believe one of the new specialists will get this as an ability. Destruction in 2042 is definitely more in line with Battlefield 4. Big game events like the rocket exploding, this is in favour of the micro destruction we saw in Battlefield 5, where you could literally drive a tank through an entire building. First person takedowns have been reworked into third person, presumably so unique takedown animations can be monetized. Now, I don't mind this too much, though I did love the takedowns in Battlefield 3 and 4, with the removal of dog tags in favour of the player card. Maybe third person makes more sense. Now, the heads-up display and general UI in the beta was clearly unfinished, so the damage indicators and the score we're used to seeing wasn't present, so I really do hope this does show up in the full launch. Knowing how much damage you're doing is actually really helpful in game. Classes have also been sidelined, though they are present in Portal, so they aren't completely gone. And side note, a survey that EA sent out to players gathering feedback on the open beta actually asked if players would just prefer if the traditional classes returned to multiplayer. Just something worth mentioning. Being knocked onto the ground from large explosions, sure it got annoying, especially when armed objectives knocked you back, but hey, it's gone and I miss it. First person bleeding out is gone too, and I'm actually really happy about this. In Battlefield 5, I found the constant transition from first to third person pretty disorientating. At least now it's all third person. Though the removal of squad points and squad call-ins is a huge bummer. Now, I'm not solely referring to the V1s here either, I mean all of them. Again, maybe this stuff will be there at launch, but it's worth mentioning now just in case. And similarly, squad wipes are gone too. Throwing back grenades and even shooting them mid-air seems to be missing in 2042, not to mention the resupply stations around the map. Both very cool additions to Battlefield 5. While attrition for the most part is pretty much gone in 2042, I did find myself running out of ammo quite often, so having the resupply stations at each flag might mitigate the problem. We all know we can't rely on teammates to help us out. The squad spawn screen from Battlefield 5 is gone, but honestly I'd much prefer something more simple like the Battlefield 4 spawn preview box. Also, the nearby medics or squad member indicators when you're downed, man, we need those back for launch. I kept skipping revives because I couldn't tell if there was a medic nearby. Weapon mounting, stationary guns and anti-air turrets, a full player server scoreboard that shows how everyone is doing that round. Being able to dive underwater apparently isn't a thing anymore. Towing vehicles and stationary weapons, the nearby grenade indicator on the heads-up display, environmental effects like mud collecting on your weapons, a chat box, and of course the classic Comoros wheel, though I do know that one's going to be there at launch. Most of these things are all missing in the Battlefield 2042 beta, but fingers crossed they just didn't make the build and will be there at launch. So there's the features I thought of combined with the list I mentioned earlier. I might have missed plenty of things, so let me know what feature you miss most from previous Battlefield games. But this is when the tinfoil hats go on. This is when this channel suddenly becomes Lossy Game Theory. Back in 2017, a rumor surfaced online about the next Battlefield game that was coming out in 2018. There was nothing too accurate or concrete about any of it. It was one of those, oh my uncle is a pizza delivery guy that delivered pizza to Andrew Wilson one time and overheard his master plans. But looking back, maybe that uncle was onto something. The rumor anyway was that DICE at the time were working on a Bad Company game before the World War II Battlefield title. Development on the Bad Company game went really sour midway through, which meant DICE needed to pivot development to pushing out a rushed World War II game super quickly. The Bad Company game was then sidelined for a year or so before it was picked up again and repurposed into a new modern era title, now known to be Battlefield 2042. With that in mind, it would mean the building blocks for 2042 were put in place before a lot of the core work on Battlefield 5 was done. Because I don't know about you lads, but as I played the beta, and I actually mentioned this on a live stream, it sort of felt old. And not like an old build or whatever, I mean it felt a little like a step back compared to a lot of the nicer improvements made in Battlefield 5. Now, I'm not singing Battlefield 5 praises here, I still think that game had a ton wrong with it, but little things like some of the movement improvements I mentioned here are all absent in 2042 despite them being liked so much in Battlefield 5. What if they aren't in 2042 because the groundwork like movement and map design was already put in place before Battlefield 5 was even locked locked in. It's crazy, it's wacky, it's probably complete rubbish, but that's what I do here on this channel. Of course, the more logical answer to all of this is that the DICE making 2042 is just different to the DICE of the past, and they're simply taking the game in a different direction. But hey look, I just wanted to voice my weird theory to see what you lads thought. Right now, everyone seems to be doing it. I mean, one of the most talked about things right now is one theory that says 2042 was a battle royale before being repurposed into what it is today, and that YouTubers were told to play Warzone to get used to the playstyle. So anything goes. But anyway, thank you for watching. For more Battlefield 2042 content, tickle that subscribe button. I would really appreciate that. Until the next one though, I'll see you lads later.